Everybody, welcome back into the Way Karate. Tonight we're going to do some work on some things to prepare for being ready to study more Aikijitsu when we come back to class. And some things that we need to learn both tonight and then next week as we start in the stances, we're going to add on to that as well some things we need to work on. But we're going to pray, and then Sensei Dale's going to warm us up. So let's pray. Lord, I thank you for this day, and I thank you for this time to gather once again to work on our martial arts. God, I ask that you will find ways to bless us with health and freedom and life, especially with all that we've been through. God, in this next month, as we continue to move forward together, I'm going to ask that you work and move and help us to work and move as one and know how to help each other. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Sensei? Feet together, hands at your side. Ready? Well,
for our warm-up, we want to start getting our muscles moving. So we're going to start with a kind of a shuffle of our feet. And the shuffle is going to go like this. We're going to kick our foot out and bring the other one back as we're bouncing. And we're just going to kick them just like this, really low. This is just going to be a good start. It's kind of like skipping in place a little bit. We want to start getting our arms to swing a little bit, get real loose. This is going to start getting our blood moving.
I feel like Michael Jackson, only I ain't very good at this.
It's more Kevin Bacon and Footloose.
They have no idea who Kevin Bacon is.
Okay, after that, we're going to swing our arms, big circles. And then big circles backwards. And now let's put it together like we're holding a ball and go over and over and over and over. Just like this. Get a little hip motion going. Get a little foot pivot. And now go under and under and under. Same thing. Hip action, foot pivot, get up on your toes so your whole body is moving. Good, and we're going to jump back and forth. Again, swing those arms. We're getting our blood circulating. Our muscles warmed up so we can stretch. Okay, roll your shoulders forward, then sideways like a zombie. And then roll your hips around and back the other way. And then your knees all the way around, then back the other way, all the way around. This is also loosening up our ankles a little bit. And then shake. Start with your shoulders. Move down your arms and your hips and your legs. One last thing for a warm-up before we stretch. Let's do a stability exercise. Here's what we're going to do. I'll do it forward and then sideways. We're going to put our arms out to the side. We're going to go forward into a lunge. And we're going to get our knee close to the ground but not touch. And then we're going to look backwards over our back knee. And we're going to come up, and we'll do the other leg. Lunge, then look backwards. There you go, and we can go backwards too. Let's go back, over our leg. Turn and look over our back leg. Come back forward, and then one more backwards. Look over our back leg, forward, and now we're ready to stretch out a little bit. Roll your necks. Side to side, around, hug yourself. Since we're going to be doing some Aikijitsu today, we want to get our shoulders and wrists a little bit more loose than normal. Put your hands in front, twist your wrists back and forth. Now twist them opposite. Twist at the waist. We were doing this kind of in our warm-ups too. Now, kick your legs out. Remember, leave your knee kind of straight. We're trying to get that stretch going. But be under control. Don't just let your foot flop up and down. Control it up and control it down. you want to put some arm motion in there too, that continues to warm you up. And side to side. If you reach behind your toe behind your foot and do it, and put it back there, that's a little bit better control. It's a little bit harder to do. Gives you the same stretch. Same thing on the other side. Behind, out. Okay, very nice. Very good. Sensei.
All right, we're going to move up a little closer today. So I saw another martial artist claiming that much of what we teach in self-defense won't work on the streets. And here's what I say, and we've told you this. Not everything's going to work perfectly under every circumstance. So there are some principles that go into our self-defense that we teach you, we just haven't focused on it. So I want to walk through some of those principles today so that you understand the principles, because the principles are always going to work, okay? The principles will work every time. And what was interesting was as you dug deeper into this particular martial artist, he was saying, the street fight, this isn't going to work, okay? Well, and the reason is we practice helping each other out to get the muscle movement, the major muscle movement we need to do, especially as beginners. But as we move forward and we advance in our martial arts and our ability, we have to begin to understand principles that we apply every situation, okay? And I had an instructor, you guys have heard me talk about Calvin Campbell before. He took turns with a bunch of people at a karate camp we did where he just put us in defenseless situations and told us to get out. Because there's no such thing as the defenseless situation. And so in that, he showed us some things, and what I knew was principles. And so I was one of 3 people who were able to actually escape because I used the principles, not necessarily just the techniques. Now the techniques matter, but the principles are the key. So let's start with our very first principle. I want to keep my center, okay? If I'm attacked, go ahead and we're going to do grabbing today, Sensei. So if I'm attacked by Sensei and he's got a hold of me, I want to keep my center. Now, what if he comes up behind me and he pulls me off balance? I'm off balance. First thing I need to do is get my center. So when he pulls me, I need to get my center. That's step 1. Now, this is not to attack him in return. It's simply to level my balance out. Keep your center, okay? Now,
how do we keep our center?
What I want to do is I want my strength to be in the middle of my body. So when you pull me backwards, Sensei, you pull me backwards, and I'm off balance, I'm going to step back, allowing me to center my body. So that everything, look, my back is straight. We practice this in our techniques. I can go into a full front stance and see this. My body is in the center. My legs are stable between me. This allows me to center up. That principle is going to work every time, okay? My goal is to get back to center. And typically, not always, but typically in doing so, I'm going to take my opponent's center, especially when we're close. So, again, watch what happens to Sensei's center when I step back. I'm centered. He's not. Okay? So that first principle is always going to work. Now, you may have heard in various self-defense classes, step on their toe. And we'll tell you, hey, if you can get a toe, get a toe. The problem is when somebody comes up from behind and grabs you, you're not sure where that toe is. I don't know necessarily where his toes are going to be. I can shoot for him, I can try for him, but I might miss. Okay? But what I do know is where my center is. Okay? So principle number one is to keep your center. Okay? Keep your center strong. And we've taught this in so many ways. This is so important in all of our life. Okay? To keep our center strong. Okay? Then, number two, you're going to take their balance. And the way you're going to do that is you're actually going to yield to the threat. Okay? Yield to the threat. Now, again, whether he comes at me from the front or from the back, he's pulling this way, right? My natural reaction is to try and fight back. What we want you to do is yield. Instead of going backwards, go forward. I've set my center. I've set him off center. Okay? And because I'm recentered and he's off center, now I have the advantage. But if I try to pull back, all he's got to do to get me to not be able to pull back is be stronger than me, which he probably is. All right? So that's all he needs. He's just got to be stronger than me. By stepping in, I'm able to eliminate his threat to me, okay? And I'm able to get him off balance and keep my center. So yield to the threat. This is the second concept, yield to the threat.
Inside that second concept of yielding to the threat also is the principle of where our safety zones are. We have 3 areas of distance that are safe. This area right here where he's at the extension of my fist, that's area number 2. This is the worst place for him to be. This is the least safe because he's going to feel the full power of my punch at this distance. But when he yields to the threat and moves in close, I don't have a lot of power, but he is now in control because he yielded to the threat. The other safety distance is from way back here. He can't be hurt physically hand to hand when we're that far apart.
So that distance starts at, back up right there, 6 feet. Maybe you've heard about 6 feet and the safety of 6 feet and how 6 feet helps keep us safe even from sickness. This is safe distance, okay? And so when we're at 6 feet is when we begin to think if there's an aggressor, I've got to be ready to move once he steps inside that 6 feet, okay? Because I'm safe here. But if he moves inside that 6 feet, I've got to be ready to adjust to him, okay? So that in that adjustment, okay, I'm going to be able to take him off guard by making my adjustment. So once he comes inside 6 feet.
2 principles so far. Get your center and
yield to the
yield
threat.
to the threat.
Yield to the threat. Now, number 3, okay, everything's about circles. Okay? Stick that in your brain. Everything's about circles. Okay? Choose circles. Choosing circles is what's going to give you advantage. Okay? Everything we do is about circles. If you look at even just practicing the muscle movement of just take a grab, of any of our standard Aikijitsu techniques, it doesn't matter. Watch. I'm circling here at my hips. I'm turning my hips in a circle as I turn his hand also in a different circle. That is our first Aikijitsu technique. Okay? And it's about the circles. Now, if I only apply the circle technique, then it's still strength against strength. Okay? What I've got to do is I've got to apply the circle technique with the center technique and with the yielding to the threat technique. Okay? So when he comes in and grabs, he's grabbing here, whichever side he grabs. First, I want to yield to the threat. Okay? So he's coming with this. I want to step in.
He got closer. Zone 1.
I put up a block for that high fist he had up. Notice he's got this fist up. I'm guarded. Okay? I moved in. Then I'm going to circle out as I do this. Without the circle, my technique is going to be weak. So I've got to get that circle. Now, again, he grabs. I'm going to yield, take his balance. Look, I have my center. He's off balance. Then I circle. That's when this technique works. Without the principles, the technique will not work. You've got to have the principles in place. Okay, so 4th principle. So we've got, wait, go back. Yeah.
We've got 3 principles so far, and they're fantastic. But what Sensei didn't show you is some of the dirt you can throw in when you yield to the threat, when you throw up a block, when you're creating a circle, when you are staying centered. So this grab, what he didn't show you.
Dirt? What dirt?
This when I yield to the threat and I move in with that elbow straight to the face, or into the ribs.
Yield this way?
Or if I yield this way, I'm still stepping in, yielding to the threat. He's wanting me to come that way. I'm just giving him what he wants. I'm yielding to the threat. But I threw in a little dirt. This is why some people will say, well, this won't work on the street. It's because we're practicing at this safe distance, under control. You're kind of going slow. And he's not throwing any dirt. But if he was really in danger and I move in, he's stepping in, yielding to the threat, and
I'm going to step
whacking
here.
me.
Boom.
That throws me off balance. He's still got his balance, and then he does the circle principle.
Boom, boom, boom. I've hit him 4 times before I ever, or at least 2 times before I try to put on technique. And then even if he still has a hold of me, let's say he keeps the grasp. Like throw this, he keeps the grasp, so he's got strength and he's pulling me with him. Boom, boom. I'm going to strike here, strike there, strike there. I'm taking out a lot of things once I'm here. I'm gonna keep hitting, keep hitting, keep hitting.
The way we practice in our dojo, though, we're going slow because we're not trying to hurt each other. As we get the technique down, the speed will come, and with speed comes power. And that's when it starts being very effective. But if we don't get the technique and if we don't get the principles, you're right, it's not going to work.
It's not going to work. So let's
principles.
review the 3 we've got. Actually, we've added a 4th that wasn't one of mine, but we're going to add it in anyway. So number 1, you want to keep your center.
Lower your body, lower your hips, get your legs in those good stances we practice.
Okay? Get your center. Number 2, you want to yield to the threat. That's going to gain your balance, take them off balance, and move you into a safe zone. Okay? Number 3, circles. Circle, 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 circle. Okay? Number 4, Sensei Dale likes to say, tenderize the meat. Okay?
I got that from Sensei Jack.
Yeah.
He'll be back soon.
Yeah. Tenderize the meat. Okay? So that means while we're doing this, we're striking. We're not just making one motion. We're doing 3 or 4 things at the same time. We're striking, we're kicking, we're punching as we're getting a technique. Okay? As we're putting that technique on. Okay? And then number 4, and this one is hard for us, and that is finish the fight. Okay? You have to finish the fight. And what that means is whatever level of force you need to apply to bring about peace, you have to keep going until your opponent is completely disabled and at peace. Okay?
Now, there are different ways to apply that level of force. I'll give you an example of where we as martial artists growing in our character, we're going to apply the force that can still bring peace and still disables our opponent but doesn't kill people. We are trained and know with the techniques how to really injure somebody. But if Sensei gets me to the ground, especially with that move where he does the armbar and he takes me down to the ground, there he's moved in, he hit me, got me to the ground. He can stomp my head, and that's an amount of force that will be applied and the fight's over. Or he can stomp my knee. Well, if he stomps my knee, I still can't get up and chase him and hurt him, but I'm not dead and he doesn't go to jail.
And I can break an elbow if necessary. I can kick a rib. There's lots of options for me. What I need more than anything is to say, are we done? I need to be able to apply force with my center in place. Are we done? Okay? That's the goal. Now, here's why this matters. In worst case scenarios, okay, active shooter situation, someone with a knife, someone's already gotten inside your 6 feet and you didn't realize they were going to attack and you've been stunned. In worst case scenarios, you are not going to be able to remember every technique to apply it properly in that moment. Fear is going to kick in. You're going to have to breathe and get yourself under control. So follow these principles in order. Keep your center. Okay? One of the things about breathing is it recenters our mind and our heart. Okay? Keep your center. Number 2, you want to yield to the threat. So move in, move where they're trying to take you. Go with them. If this is an active gunman and what he's asking for, instead of he's not shooting yet, he's just saying, give me your wallet. Here's how you deal with that. My wallet is in my front pocket. I'm just getting it out. You get your wallet out, yield to the threat. Give him your wallet right in his face and go at an angle. Okay? Run. Yield to that threat. You don't have to fight every gunman in the world. You don't have to fight everyone who draws a knife on you. You don't have to fight everyone who attacks you. It is okay to yield to the threat as long as that threat is immediate and it is just for now. Now, if that threat is going to continue beyond the moment, that's when you've got to start thinking about running or hiding or fighting. Okay? These are your other two options. You're going to hide or you're going to fight. Okay? Active shooter situation. If you can hide safely with others, hide safely. Okay? Running and hiding are not bad self-defense. Okay? That's yielding to the threat. Okay? Number 3 then, circle, 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 circle. As much as you can. And along with that, tenderize the meat. So
circles happen this way, they happen this way, up and down, they happen at angles. Circles are happening here. Notice how even doing this circle, I've got 2 circles going. My arm in a parallel plane and my hips on a plane. Circles are 3-dimensional everywhere.
yes. So all the circles, and tenderize the meat as we're moving. And then finally, and I just went blank.
Finish the fight.
Finish the fight.
Like he wants to finish
finish
this
the fight.
lesson.
Now, here's the other thing about finishing the fight. If you decide to fight, say Dale has a weapon, Dale's bigger than me, whatever, Dale is the weapon, whatever it is, and I'm going to fight. I'm going to actually finish the fight without running and hiding. Okay, these are 2 good options for self-defense. However, if I decide I have to fight, I need to be all in. I cannot fight part way. Okay? If I decide to fight, I need to be all in on the fight. I'm in till it's done. There is no out for me. If I decide to fight, I am not going softly into that fight. Now, I may end sooner than my opponent would, but I'm not going to end sooner than they are completely under control. I'm going to keep going. When I had Sensei Dale on the ground and we were choosing what our options are, the answer is what ends the fight? What finishes the fight? I've got to keep going till the fight is done. All right? All right. So we're going to walk through now just real quickly our 10 Aikijitsu techniques. Depending on where you're at, yours is going to be different. But what I want you to do today, as we're doing these Aikijitsu techniques, I want you to think through how with each technique we take these 4 different principles. Actually, we're going to add 5. These 5 different principles, and we put them into effect. So, first things first. When Sensei grabs me, however he's going to grab me, okay, I'm going to yield to the threat. Okay? We've done this push my buttons. He pushes this button, I open up this way. He pushes this button, I open up this way. We've done that. That's all we're doing. Even though it's a grab, I'm going to move that shoulder out. Okay? So that's my first thing. Oh, hold on. So first, I got to keep my center. So he pulls. I'm going to step in. Now that's another thing. He doesn't just grab. He grabs and pulls, and I step in. Look, just stepping in. Okay? I've already made a difference. Then I'm going to yield. And when I yield, I take him off balance. Okay? I'm circling here. This arm is circling here. Okay? So that's all hips. Then, as I keep moving, I'm going to circle here. Okay? So, I've got those circles. Then, I'm going to finish the fight. Okay? So, what I want you to do, I want you to work through all five principles with whatever technique. So, let's do, again, that white belt technique. So, white belt technique, I'm grabbing the thumb. Okay? I'm going to get my center. Okay, keep my center. I'm going to yield to his threat, so I'm stepping in, not out. I'm going to circle here, and I'm going to tenderize the meat. Then as I bring him around, I'm going to finish the fight, whatever that means. Okay?
And for our smaller students, when he brings that elbow up, go on and get in position, this arm can actually hammer down on this arm to get it bent, and that's going to take me to the ground easier.
Okay? So, technique number 2, our yellow belt technique, is this technique 5. Now, honestly, this technique 5 works best from this position because I'm going to yield to the threat in the other direction. Okay? So I still want he's going to pull me in, so I'm going to step in, okay, because that's where he's pulling me. He's going to want to strike here. So I've got to stop that fist as I'm doing this, but I've still got his elbow, okay? So, yeah, here, as I'm, boom. And then, technique. Now, you've seen where this technique goes. I circle, and I finish the fight by ripping the shoulder out. Okay?
Break that one down just a little bit where your hands go from this
Okay.
distance.
Remember, my thumbs go up. So, grab with that side. My thumb's on top at the elbow. So, here. And my other thumb is going to the wrist. But, before I do that, I've got to do my other things first. I've got to center. Okay? So, I can make this strike here, but he's got that up. So, I've got to center, and I've got to strike as I circle. Okay? Make sure you have your center. And the closer you can be to your opponent, the better. In fact, if you can get hip to hip, see how much harder it is for him to make that strike if I'm hip to hip?
And it's already hurting my shoulder.
Okay? So, I want to go thumbs up, step in with the elbow thumb, the elbow hand, step into the belly. Boom. Okay, I'm centered, good stance. He's off balance. I'm going to keep coming. That's number 2. Number 3, we're going behind the head. So this one is my favorite from the 6 feet when someone starts to attack and they're coming with force because I can get behind and change their direction. Okay? Now, let's go slow, show you what I'm going to do. First of all, I got to keep my center as I'm moving. So I'm centered here. Let's step through. I'm centered here. Now, what I'm doing there as I'm getting under his chin is I'm going to lift backwards and I'm going to keep coming around. That circle brings him off balance. Okay? Now, my favorite way, of course, to do this is as he's coming in, I prefer to come here with my whole arm. It's the same technique. I'm getting his chin back. I'm taking him off angle. And he's going to the ground. Okay? Because for me, I know getting my hands under the chin can be hard. Getting my arm under there, I got all of this to reach with.
But if he misses the chin and hits me across the face with it, it's still going to bend my head back.
And I'm circling up. This is not a straight in clothesline. This is a circle up. Okay? See how I'm looping up? I want to circle up. Because if he's striking with this hand, anything comes over top, whatever it may be, I'm getting all of that because I've got my arm.
Body rise, body fall.
There you go. Okay, so then technique number 4, this is our blue belt technique. This one is the pinky. So same kind of grab, whatever the grab is.
I don't like this one.
He hates this one. All right, so first things first. Yield to the threat. Center. Okay, drop in. So yield to the threat, center, tenderize the meat, and circle. Now this one, I'm going to stay here until I'm ready to bring him in. Okay? Now, that's the one technique that the other martial artists pointed out in particular doesn't work. Let me tell you something. From here, if I stand here and I try to do this technique, fight it. Right? I just got clobbered. But if I go here and there and then do the technique will work. It's not the technique that's the problem. It's when I apply the technique that's the issue. But if I've hit you 4 times and then I apply the technique and then I bend your elbow as I come in on your chin, that's when this stuff works.
And this happened with one of our students. We don't recommend our students doing karate outside of class. In fact, one of our rules is karate only in class. But we had a student that kind of graduated to another belt level, and he kind of wanted to show off, was proud of his accomplishments, and somebody at school said, okay, show me what you got. And he tried to do a technique on them, and he went straight from, okay, grab my collar, and then he wanted to do the technique. And as he went to do the technique, the guy just stood there. And he said, Sensei, it didn't work. Well, we hadn't practiced it under duress. We hadn't trained him to tenderize the meat in that process. We'd given him the technique, but we hadn't shown him where to apply it.
Which is why I wanted to do this principle class on video, okay? These principles matter more than techniques, Okay, principles first, technique second. Learn the principles. All right, then, where are we at? Green belt? No, green belt is up underneath, which from the front rather than from the back. So, this one, again, this one can be applied from anywhere. Let's go ahead and do it from the punch, because this one's great. This is one Sensei Tom would be really good at. That punch is coming in, and Sensei Tom likes to do this outside chest block, boom, boom, right here, and then we're just going to lift and bring them down. Now,
From the other side.
you notice he just stepped back. He got his center again. Okay, so how do I keep him from getting his center again? I'm going at an angle. Okay, and even if he doesn't go to the ground, that's okay. If I can throw him off, I don't have to put a lot of force into throwing him off under those circumstances.
Sensei was being very nice. He could have put me on the ground both times, but he was just giving me a gentle shove. Thank you.
We're trying not to kill each other in here. All right, purple belt technique.
Oh, before we get to that, we had one of our black belt students, we were training on the up under, and he just tucked his chin. He said, ha, and nobody could move him. He just stood, tucked his chin, centered himself. And Sensei said, I got him. And so he tenderized the meat.
As soon as he did that, I was moving. In fact, I almost dropped him, and I felt bad because I didn't mean to do that. I hate when I hurt you guys. He was kind of being a jerk. If I center and I'm strong, yeah, as long as you're centered, that works. As soon as you do that, you're done. Okay? So get them off center. All right. So now we're on to our purple belt technique, which is the arm bar, which we've had the arm bar several times. Arm bar is a finishing move, really. Again, remember that when we get to the arm bar, we're at the end, okay? Because if I get your hand at any point here, we're at the end of this fight, okay? And this is where I get to decide what happens next. We first want to go to the ground with our arm bar, okay? That's our first plan, okay? And the reason we want to go to the ground, back here where people can see, is because that gives us the most opportunity to bring about peace without more damage. However, what the arm bar allows for is once I have this in place, and again, notice I'm in close on this arm bar. I'm not standing way out here on this arm bar, okay? I'll show you in just a minute.
It won't work from back there.
His circle changes everything from back here. But in here, I'm able to roll that arm over. Snap. There's lots of options here if necessary. Arm bar is great against a knife if you can get there. The problem is most people attack with a knife. They're coming in and they're jabbing. So you got to stop the jabbing before you move on. So you got to work through the principles. Remember, I've got to start by keeping my center. Then I've got to yield to the threat. Then I'm going to circle and tenderize, okay, at the same time. And then once I've circled and tenderized, I finish the fight. All right? And then our last technique, this one also works well with a knife because when they're jabbing, the first thing I want to do is I want to step towards that knife. We tend to want to step away. Again, I want to start to limit his power with that knife.
I kind of want to go get a knife.
Okay, Sensei wants to go get a knife. What I don't want to do is step back where that knife is strong. I want to step into the knife. All right, so Sensei's coming in with his knife. What I want to do is I want to stop the knife by stepping into it, not stepping away from it.
I tried this jabbing twice.
Now, if I step into it there, I'm off balance. I actually need to step in with my balance, okay? Keep yourself straight, okay? That's going to give you more power when he goes to make a jab again, okay? It's going to give me more breath. Now, he's got this hand he can hit me with, okay? So here's what I got to do. If I go that way, I got to keep going that way. And that is technique 4. It's your brown belt technique. Even if I haven't pulled this over, knife is in his ribs. That is a deadly move. I do not want to kill people if I can help it. But if he's got a knife, I am going to hurt him first. Okay? Now I can also bring it here, remove the knife. Okay? Then we jam that up in the elbow or into the armpit. Okay? That's not what we want. Listen, once someone brings a weapon into it, pretty much all in is they're going to the hospital or they're going to the morgue. That's the only options. And I hate to say that, but there's not much way around somebody getting hurt.
If you can run away when somebody draws a weapon, run away.
Run away, hide if you can. Okay? If you feel like you have to fight to protect yourself and especially to protect others, you got to go all in, and that means somebody's going to get hurt, and it should be the other person at that point. That's why we're going all in. Technique 4 allows us to do this very quickly and very easily.
Can you go over that technique, how you get it behind?
I keep saying 4, it's brown belt.
How do you get that arm behind?
So again, I'm doing this. First things first, I'm stepping in. I'm yielding to that threat that's here. I'm not running from it. I'm moving into the threat. Boom. And I'm controlling it. Then I'm just stepping through under the arm. Okay?
You'll notice some of our katas have this above. Well, this isn't necessarily a block. This is part of the move, getting that arm up and then doing the circle over. Watch him again. There's the hand motion that some of our katas have above our head.
Okay? Now, as much as possible, I want to be in close to him. Because notice what I can do with my hip. Watch what he does. Look at the balance that just happened just by hitting hip on hip. And then I can bring that through. Okay? So, how do we practice these at home if I don't have a partner? Okay? That gets a little bit difficult to practice Aikijitsu without a partner. And the other thing is, if you're not careful and you're practicing at home without somebody watching you, it's very easy to hurt somebody doing these if you're not careful and you're not gentle with each other. So we prefer you be careful. But what you can do is take this video and take your technique, the one you're working on based on your belt level, okay, and practice, for example, brown belts. You can practice these techniques that exist. You just practice the motions. Right now it's about getting your muscle memory. And then memorize your principles. Memorize your principles. Keep your center. Yield to the threat. Circle and tenderize. And finish the fight. Okay?
Sensei, all of those principles are found in our katas.
Yes.
So if you're at home and you're practicing your kata, you are teaching your muscles how to do these. Even if you're not getting down to the minute details because you needed a partner. Practice your kata and videotape your kata. Send that back into us so we can watch and give you constructive criticism, technique help to improve your balance, improve how you center yourself, improve how you yield to the threat, improve your circles. We can give you that instruction if you send in those videos.
So here's the final thing I'm going to let you know. As we head into May, things are starting to shift a little with COVID-19. And so not only will we take your videos and give you response on your kata and what we're seeing in those techniques and the things you're doing, but we are going to look at our first options for offering any kind of class. It may be that we have to schedule small classes of only 9 people, because there can't be more than 10 of us here, okay? And have several of them throughout the week instead of just one. It may be that we do online classes and you want to participate in those because of health and issues at your own. We're still trying to figure that out as the government's trying to give us different direction. We will let you know. I need to say this though. In the month of May, we are going to be charging for classes again, whether they be online, they be in person, at different levels, simply because we got rent to pay. And PJ's being very gracious, and we're really thankful for Graphics to Go giving us the space, but we want to make sure that we honor that as best we can. Please be watching, and anytime that we can answer your questions, get a hold of us. You can do that through direct message, or you can give us a call by going to the website and finding the phone number, or email us at thewaykarateclub@gmail.com. All right? All right. So, you can go ahead and have a seat, Sensei. Okay. So here's the thing about our faith and where this applies. All of these principles we've applied to our faith at different times. Under one circumstance or another. But here's the truth. There are certain principles of faith that are always going to apply. Following Jesus, there are techniques that matter or that work, but they may not work for everybody all the time. For example, all of us should follow the principle of spending alone time with Jesus every day. Okay? The principle is we should be alone with Jesus, and we should spend time in his word, listening to and reading the Bible and praying to Jesus. That's the principle. But for some of us, we do that better by listening. Some of us do it better by reading. Some of us do it better by by praying out loud. Some of us do it better in writing. All of us have different techniques that work. And what I'm going to tell you is the techniques can work. And the techniques are good. But the principle always remains. You need to spend time with Jesus. Okay? How about this principle? God has offered you grace and freedom from sin. But you have to claim that victory. You have to claim that grace. You have to go and participate with God. Now, at different churches, they do this different ways. The Bible talks about we decide to be immersed. Most of your Bibles probably say baptized, but that's just what's called a transliteration, where the Greek word of baptizo got made into an English word, baptism. But the word in Greek actually means immersion. Now, that's what the Bible teaches us. And I believe that that's the goal that we want, because it's a beautiful picture of being buried with Christ and raised again. But the principle is this. God wants you to commit to a relationship with him. God is asking you to commit to a relationship where he is Lord and you follow his example and you are willing to do what he says because he's Lord. So your church may have done that in a different way, okay? I'm going to recommend that you go ahead and read the scripture and see what it actually says. But in any case, the principle is still the same. Jesus wants a relationship with you, and that requires commitment from you. Okay? So there are principles that are going to apply throughout our faith. Two of the biggest ones, spend time with Jesus and commit to a relationship with him. Okay? Both of those principles apply, even though techniques and how you do that may change. Third thing is, gathering people together, okay, is a beautiful way to worship. In fact, it's more powerful than when we're not gathered together. And now that we've had this time where most churches have had to separate and not been able to worship together for a period of time now and not been able to come together, you probably felt that sense missing, that powerful sense of communion that happens when we're in the room together. Something done by the Spirit is there. However, the principle is this: do not stop gathering with other Christians. So even right now, if you're not able to gather together physically, you need to be gathering with your church in small groups, in Zoom calls, in live worships that are being made available online. The principle is still the same. We need to not give up gathering together. However, the best way to do that is when we come together physically in a room together, because God does something different when we're together. The principle, though, applies no matter what your circumstances, okay? Sometimes our circumstances change our techniques, but principles always apply. All right? Let's do our creed, and we'll go. I come to you with holy karate, my empty hands. I am a law-abiding citizen. I seek peace. I have respect for others and myself. I take responsibility for all my words and actions. I shall carry to everyone. I am honest, always. This is my creed. All right? Arigato gozaimasu, which means thank you very much. Sensei. Feet together, hands at your side. Ready? Good work. We'll catch up with you again next week. Let us know if you would like lessons, and we'll tell you how you can get those continuing into the month of May.